My name is Professor Khalid. Welcome to episode number 1 of Journey Through the Colonial Archives. There's an 8-page document written in the summer of 1971 by a corporate lawyer in Virginia. It was never meant for your eyes. And yet, if you want to understand why the world looks the way it does today, why the playing field feels permanently tilted, why the game seems rigged no matter who you vote for, this is where you start. This is the story of the Powell Memo, and once you know it, you cannot unknow it. His name was Lewis Powell, 63 years old, corporate attorney, Richmond, Virginia. He sat on the board of Philip Morris, the tobacco company, and spent years arguing publicly that cigarettes did not cause cancer. He was a man who served power faithfully, and he was very good at it. On August 23, 1971, Powell wrote a confidential memo to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He called it Attack on the Free Enterprise System. His argument was simple and cold. American corporations were losing the universities, losing the media, losing the courts, losing the next generation, and if they didn't fight back hard, and fight back smart, they would lose everything. 2 months later, Richard Nixon nominated Lewis Powell to the United States Supreme Court. The memo was never disclosed at his confirmation hearings. The Senate never saw it. The American people never saw it. Powell was sworn in as a justice in January 1972. 6 months after writing a secret plan for corporate America to take over the country. Now, let that settle for a moment. This old black man has read a great many documents in his time. I've read the Declaration of Independence, which promised freedom for all men while chaining my ancestors. I've read the Three-Fifths Compromise. I've read the papal bulls that gave European kings the right to enslave African people. I know what a document written in bad faith looks like. And the Powell Memo is one of the most consequential documents ever written in bad faith on American soil. It reads like a military strategy document. That is not an accident. Powell used the language of war, frontal assault, guerrilla warfare, rifle shots. He underlined the word survival. He told corporate America to stop compromising, stop appeasing, and start fighting. The plan had 4 pillars. First, capture the universities, fund friendly scholars, endow academic chairs, monitor textbooks, control what the next generation is taught to believe. Second, capture the media, surveil television content, build counter-programming, fund publications that serve corporate interests, shape the national conversation before it begins. Third, and Powell called this the most important, capture the courts. Fund strategic litigation, build legal organizations, get corporate-friendly judges onto the bench. Because if you own the judiciary, you own the law. And if you own the law, you own everything else. Fourth, capture the political system itself. Build lobbying infrastructure on a scale never seen before. Create political action committees. Spend money like water until money and power become indistinguishable. 8 pages, 4 moves, written in secret by one man. What happened next is not coincidence. It is execution, and I want you to pay attention to the dates because dates tell the truth. 1972, the Business Roundtable is formed. Fortune 500 CEOs, organized as a single lobbying force. 1973, the Heritage Foundation is founded. The American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, is formed. ALEC's purpose? To write model legislation in corporate-funded conference rooms and hand those draft laws directly to state legislators across the country. Voter suppression laws, anti-protest laws, right-to-work laws, written by lobbyists, introduced by lawmakers, signed into law across America, and most people never knew where they came from. 1977, the Cato Institute, funded by the Koch family. 1982, the Federalist Society, the organization that controls the conservative judicial pipeline to this day. Every single one of these institutions is a direct descendant of the Powell Memo, and the numbers tell the story. In 1971, 175 corporations had registered lobbyists in Washington. By 1982, just 11 years later, that number had grown to over 2,400. The machine had been built, and it has been running ever since. Here is where it gets almost impossible to believe, even for someone like me who stopped being surprised by the audacity of power a long time ago. In 1978, 6 years after being sworn in as a Supreme Court justice, Lewis Powell wrote the majority opinion in First National Bank of Boston versus Bellotti. That ruling was the first to establish that corporations have First Amendment rights, the right to spend money influencing elections as if they were human beings with voices and votes. The man who wrote the secret blueprint for corporate America to take over the country then put on his Supreme Court robes and wrote the ruling that handed them the legal weapon to do it. It did not stop there. In 2010, the Supreme Court decided Citizens United versus FEC, the case that opened the floodgates for unlimited corporate money in American elections. The majority opinion cited Powell's 1978 ruling repeatedly. Citizens United, the ruling that reshaped modern democracy, was built on a foundation poured by one man in a private memo in the summer of 1971. Think about everything you've watched break in your lifetime: unions, local newspapers, public schools, state legislatures, the Supreme Court. Think about every time you asked yourself, why does nothing change, no matter who wins? Now you have part of the answer. It doesn't change because it is designed to prevent change. The people who built the system that produced those outcomes were continuing a system of indoctrination and oppression called colonization. You weren't losing the argument. You were playing a game that somebody else had already finished designing. But here is what I know from a lifetime of being on the wrong side of someone else's blueprint. Knowing the blueprint exists is the first act of resistance. You cannot change what you cannot see, and you cannot see what you cannot find. The Powell Memo is publicly available. Read it, share it, follow its trail. In our next episode, we will see that the trail leads back to the mighty Roman Catholic Church as the legal and theological foundation of the entire colonial project. I'm Professor Khalid. If you want to learn more about the documents that really shape the world we live in, join me as we discover the untold story on our journey through the colonial archives.